For a nicer guy, it couldn't happen.
I am the man of the hour, the man with the power.
Diamonds are forever.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
And what you gonna do, Andre?
History beckons the Macho Man. Yeah.
The best there is, the best there was.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
2 words for ya.
2 words.
And just a man. The champ is here.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
And you are listening to the next episode of Journey Into Wrestling. This is episode 4, I do believe. Is that right, Nate?
Let's see. Episode 1, and then episode 2, and then 3 was from Villains. Yeah, this would be 4 for sure. This
would be 4.
Yeah.
I see. That's exactly what I thought, because I want to say that as far as our YouTube podcast, they're relatively even now. But welcome everybody to Journey Into Wrestling, episode 4, as we rush forward into this awesome summer of excitement, I guess you could say, in professional wrestling. Of course, I am your host, Brando, along with my good friend, Nate.
Hey, man, how's it going?
It is going pretty good, man. I'm really excited to talk some wrestling with you. It's been a little while. The last episode was at Villains Con, and we just sort of sat in a corner of this game room and all the little tournaments and stuff that was going on. People were having a lot of fun. You and me and our friend Tony just kind of sat around, talked about what little news there was at the time. At the beginning of the month, there wasn't a whole lot to go on.
Brother Nero.
Yeah, we talked about the old
weird-ass video.
Yeah, you do want it. It's weird, but it's I likened it to like Street Fighter vibe, where it's bad and you know it's bad, but that's what's fun about it. It's it's just really cool to watch, and they had to have known that thing was bad when they did it, and that was part of the joke.
Yeah, well, it was weird because the one thing, just to quickly touch on that, is the one thing I thought was weird about that whole bit was they used a table that looked like it actually hurt somebody.
Oh man, it was like a card, like your grandma's dining room table that you all sit around and played cards at, like a Christmas dinner, after Christmas dinners.
One post in the middle.
Yeah,
where Jeff Hardy's back landed.
It's like that really thick wood where it's like if you fell and hit your head on this table as a kid, you had a knot.
There's
no way to get around that.
Did I send you that picture, by the way? I just want to throw that out there real quick.
You know what? I don't know. I don't think you did.
The Jeff Harvey picture?
Yes!
There was a guy on American Ninja Warrior who, I think he made it, and his name is Jeff Harvey.
Mike Adamle, I tell you what.
I can't get over it. It's one of the funniest bits.
You know what? The whole Mike Adamle thing, I was like really excited when they brought him in, because I'm an old school, American Gladiators fan. I'm like, oh, this guy was cool back in the day. And it's like, wow, he knows nothing about what he's doing here.
Well, and if it's anything like what the ringside announcers deal with, where it's Vince telling them what to say and yelling at them while they're trying to say it, of course Adamle's going to fuck up because he has no confidence. He can't find his own foot, to stand on. I
really wish Vince wouldn't do that. I mean, I understand there's things that, that one, need to be said, two, that they want to say a certain way. But, I mean, the only way to learn that really is to do it and then be corrected and then to try again. But to yell at them as they're doing it, for you to be an announcer nowadays you have to have like this really unique skill to be able to talk while you're being talked to.
Absolutely.
Because if you were yelling at me right now what to say, and I'm trying to talk to our listeners,
Brandon, fucking tell him that we're. I don't know. Brandon, fucking tell him.
I can't do it, man.
Yeah, I know it would be obnoxious and very annoying. I think that's why Mick didn't hang out long on the announce team, because he can't deal with it.
I heard about that. I heard that he wasn't really interested in getting yelled at for 2 hours once a week.
Yeah, no.
But back then, of course, at the beginning of the month, we didn't have a whole lot of news, so we just kind of had a neat little discussion about some stuff, especially with the draft kind of being announced right around that same time. We looked into that because the episode was going to be pretty boring if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, it's like 18 days till the draft, by the way.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is July 1st, so we're going to be looking at June. The big events in June that happened. We're going to be running down some of those cards, and we're going to run right into that right now. Of course, the first big one was the NXT TakeOver event, TakeOver the End, which was, of course, headlined by Samoa Joe, the NXT champion, defending against Finn Balor. Now, the card, unfortunately, guys, I got to admit, I didn't watch this. I am subscribed from the network for a little while to save a little bit of cash. I always follow what's going on, so I always hear about it. I always read about it, but I have not actually seen this card. Unlike the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which I got the network back just to watch. Unfortunately, I haven't gone back to watch the end yet. Nate, did you watch it?
I watched it. I loved it. It was good. I mean, as most, let me say this, as most always, it is a fact that NXT knows what they're doing. They book really solid matches. They keep it interesting, and for being essentially the understudy to the main roster, they bring it to another level, man. The Nakamura versus Austin Aries match stands out in my mind. It was great. Nakamura going over, I do believe. American Alpha, I think. I can't remember. They were in a tag match.
Yep. The card is. I'm going to ruin this guy's name. Andrade? Is that his name? Andrade de Almas. Andrade de Almas defeated Ty Dillinger.
Oh, yep.
The Revival, Dash and Dawson, defeated American Alpha, Jason Jordan, and Chad Gable to win.
They're the first time, two-time NXT
tag team champions. Yes. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Austin Aries. Asuka retained her NXT Women's Championship against Nia Jax, and Samoa Joe defeated Finn Balor to retain the NXT Championship in a steel cage match.
Match of the night, like I said, Nakamura Aries.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot about that.
Like Balor and Joe, you would have expected that they would have brought it to the highest level, but I felt like the steel cage was a little bit gimmicky in the match.
Okay.
And I think it took away from what they actually can do. It was one of the few times where the gimmick of the match made the match less good than it could have been.
We'll see a lot of times for steel cage, a lot of the workers, a lot of the wrestlers, they kind of feel like steel cage matches are pretty easy because you can use the cage a lot more. You don't have to work on such a hard match. You can actually utilize the cage and use that for some psychology. However, of course, Nakamura is really, really highly rated. Of course, his match against Sami Zayn was absolutely outrageous at the Dallas takeover.
Yep.
Of course, against Austin Aries. I expected no less. Austin Aries is a great hand, a great guy to work with. So now this event, what would you give this event out of 10?
Out of 10?
Do you want to do 10 or do you want to do 5?
No, 10 is fair. We'll do it out of 10. I would give it a 7.5.
7.5 for this one?
For sure.
Personally, I didn't watch it, so I can't rate this one at all. So I'm very happy, honestly, to see Joe go over because that pretty much means that, he won the feud. One thing I don't really get is why Joe didn't win at Dallas and he won at a live event. And when he won the title from Balor, I kind of understand why they're saying, hey, you need to go to all our live events because you never know what's going to happen. I get that. And that's probably why they did it. But unfortunately, that does mean that, Joe didn't win it on a major event. He had to defend it on a major event. And it was just kind of weird. It was old school, I guess, that you could say, because there used to be some title changes on European tours and stuff like that, and back in the old 90s 80 days for the titles, and you didn't see it. You just turned on the television and go, holy crap, what are they doing with the tag team titles? And then they have some pictures or some really crappy looking footage of these guys winning the tag titles, and you go, son of a bitch, I don't want these guys to be the tag team champions. And then now you're invested in whatever team had them to get them back.
Or it's Saturday Night Main Event where the Midnight Rockers actually didn't win the titles. Broken rope.
Yeah,
well, that's how history is. And that's what I was going to say with Joe, man, is Samoa Joe winning a title at an NXT live event as opposed to at a pay-per-view adds to the lore of him. And I know you said this, I want to say on probably episode 2, we were talking a little bit about this. The idea that WWE wants you to remember Joe from NXT and separate remembering him from TNA.
Yeah, well, they want to do that obviously with a lot of their guys. I guess AJ really benefited from going to Japan to being more known more recently for his Japan run with the Bullet Club than his TNA stuff. So that benefited him to not going to NXT like Aries, like Joe, like Bobby Roode debuted at a live event. I don't know if he's officially on the roster, but obviously he's going to be working with the company going forward. And then same with
Eric Young. Yep.
Eric Young debuted, and he's not officially with the company either. But those guys are all big TNA guys, so
and the same thing happened with Joe, right? He wasn't officially with the company. He debuted at an event, one of the regular shows, I do believe, on Wednesday.
Yep.
And did a one-off thing, and then you didn't hear from Joe for a minute, and then he was officially signed, and now he is where he is.
Well, Joe, he had a unique deal where he was allowed to come in and work NXT, but he still had outside bookings. And I think what they were doing was, he took a lot of bookings when he first left TNA, and then he started talking to WWE, but he said he had all the stuff going on. So they said, well, let's work with it. Let's try you out. If this is something you want to do, you can stay on full time. It was a new sort of deal that hadn't been brokered before, where somebody with independent bookings could come into NXT, do some stuff down there, and then it worked out, and Joe decided to stay, and then they've gone from there. Now, Joe is now the NXT champion. Now, what we need to think is, and we're going to get to this later, but the outcome of this event is going, the ricochets from this are going to be felt into the draft, because NXT stars are eligible for the draft.
I did not know that. So they could be called up literally, and that could be how they debut, as being drafted.
Yep.
That's awesome. See, because that creates an interesting dichotomy, because what happens if, Raw pick number 7, Samoa Joe? Mm-hmm. Well, now does he relinquish the title?
Well, we'll see.
How does that work? Does he come up like how KO did, where he is the champion
when he debuted, and he was doing double duty?
It's interesting, and that's what I think I really admire about the company now, is they're getting back to this thing where they're making it fun, and they're making me want to watch. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, oh yeah, I've got to fucking waste an hour and a half watching Raw. It's like, fucking hurry up and get up on Hulu so I can watch my episode of Raw, I really want to see it. I will say it's so much better only having to watch an hour and a half of Raw. I don't think I could sit through a 3-hour show, but that's neither here nor there.
That's one reason why I quit watching, week to week at least, because it is very rough. I do hit, even now, even with the renewed and reinvigorated women's division, and that's one thing I would always skip. It was the Diva stuff. Man, it is tough. Yeah. And we're going to get into some of the conversation about some stuff later, but now we're going to go to the other side of the aisle, maybe just for a second. TNA had their Slammiversary event, which is one thing to know, is that I think the first Slammiversary debuted in 2005.
So this is the 11th?
11th, and that was the first event I ever showed you from TNA.
I remember you had it burned on a DVD.
Yeah.
That you got, illegally torrented or some shit off the internet from forever ago, because you couldn't just get pay-per-views and stuff back then, or somebody had given it. I don't remember exactly how you came about it, but you had a copy.
I bought it on eBay because I thought it was a legitimate copy.
Close enough.
And I got it, and it was this little jewel kid, well, shit, oops. Well, I better watch it.
Yeah.
But TNA's still going somehow. Let me just say that I heard that this pay-per-view almost didn't happen.
Man, they're just getting by with the skin of their teeth. I literally, Brando, don't know anybody who still watches TNA.
I quit watching. It was before Bully Ray left. Let's put it that way.
I think when Aces and Eights really started to get a little bit too much was when I stopped tuning in full time.
I could say that. I stayed with until Bully left, or at least was catching some stuff here and there. And then it was the year that Bound for Glory was in Japan that I really didn't give a crap. And then since then, I haven't even been keeping up with anything that they've been doing. However, I did hear the news bits that this pay-per-view almost didn't happen because they almost didn't have the money to pay for the production trucks to travel, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do remember reading an article where, it was up to the last minute where they didn't know this pay-per-view was going to go off. And I've heard that maybe it was just after we did the last episode that TNA might be behind on paying their stars again. They are desperate for a buyer. Let's put it that way. We've talked about, unfortunately, I don't want there to be a really negative stigma where we're always talking crap about TNA. And I don't mean to talk crap. I'm just, speaking how I kind of see it. And man, they are floundering. They're drowning, and they were a company that I really gravitated towards in the 04, 05, 06, 07 era. Even 08. That's the 08. We were just at Villains Con. That was the building that we saw the TNA live event.
Very true.
In June of 08. And
I met two now WWE stars in that ring, as I've mentioned on the show. And you did as well, right?
Yeah, we got pictures with Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. And
Joe was champ?
Joe was champ, yeah.
Yeah, because the thing that they gave me, I don't know about you, I think it was, I'm probably with both of us, only Joe signed mine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the deal was for Joe. We did get a picture with Joe. I think that's what they originally planned on. But then AJ's like, well, I'm here. I might as well get a picture. Because, I mean, that's kind of how laid back AJ is. And then, of course, they had other stars around, too, because they had Curry Man out there. I think Tracy Brooks was out there.
Yeah. Question.
What's that?
Did you happen to catch Stone Cold's podcast with AJ?
I did.
Man. You know what? I have never been happier to watch that show because they didn't shy away from TNA at all.
Well, at first, it almost kind of seemed like they were afraid to say it.
And then he just went for it.
Like they were like dancing around it, and then they just said TNA, and as soon as they said it, then they started unpacking it and started going through it and really talking about it. Yes, that was a must watch. If anybody has a network, they haven't watched the AJ Styles interview. That was awesome. It was great.
It was totally great.
To get back onto this, though, buddy, I tell you what, I'm looking at the card. I know who Eddie Edwards is. He's one of the Wolves.
I have no idea.
Of course, I know him from Ring of Honor more.
Gotcha.
I used to watch some Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, I've kind of sort of fallen off with Ring of Honor. I don't watch it as much. I haven't watched it in a couple years. Let's put it that way. But Eddie Edwards was over there. He's part of the Wolves tag team. He was in a match. The Tribunal. Never heard of those guys. With Al Snow, I've heard of him. Tell you what, man.
What does everybody want?
Gil Kim. She's there. James Storm defeated Braxton Sutter.
I know James Storm. I don't know the other one.
I don't know him either. Unfortunately, it's very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. I mean, granted, if you're watching the television show, you probably know who all these guys are. But
yeah,
Ethan Carter,
yep.
the third, EC3, defeated Mike Bennett. He's another ROH guy with Maria Kanellis. Jeff Hardy defeated Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere Metal Mayhem match. Brother Nero won. So, off air, we talked about how Abyss wears face paint now and is a tag team with, apparently his name is Crazy Steve, and tag team is called Decay. They defeated Bromance, Robbie E. and Jesse Goddard. Is that how you say his name? And Lashley defeated Drew Galloway by knockout.
Damn.
To win TNA Heavyweight Championship. Tap out or knockout match is what it was called. I don't know what kind of match they were doing. I don't know. But that was their event that almost didn't happen. I'm happy that they're still a thing. I don't want to see them go away. I want to see them get bought. The last news that I did hear was that they were trying to get a buyer, and one of the caveats was they were trying to get a buyer and they wanted to have somebody else own it, but Dixie still run it. And if I tell you what, if I'm going to be somebody who buys this damn company, I'm going to look at the last 6 years of this company with her running it, and I'm going to be like, get the hell out of here.
She's ran it straight into the ground.
I hear she's a really sweet lady, nothing but a really sweetheart to deal with, but she doesn't know wrestling, unfortunately, and without some really big wrestling minds there, come on. I mean, am I the only person that can see, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, okay. I'm the only person to see that since Jeff has left completely, this product has gone completely downhill.
It has.
I mean, ever since they brought Hogan and Bischoff in, I mean, really, they went down a downward spiral that they never really recovered from. But so, Slammiversary, we're going to move on to Money in the Bank because I actually watched Money in the Bank.
Yes.
I'm just going to run down the card really quick, and then we're going to go back and talk about stuff that we liked.
Sure.
Let's see here. They had a couple pre-show matches. Golden Truth defeated Breezango.
Tyler Breeze and Fandango. That's great.
Yeah, well, they had really bad sunburns.
Yeah, that was the whole gimmick, and they had them out there with fake sunburns and skin peeling off their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept getting smacked.
Yeah, Lucha Dragons defeated the Dudley Boys. Then we go to the main show, The New Day. I defeated Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, Enzo Amore, and Big Cass, and the Vaudevillains in a Fatal 4-Way tag team match.
Great match.
Yes, it was awesome. Baron Corbin defeated Dolph Ziggler. Why are they still feuding?
Why are they still putting people like Baron Corbin over Dolph Ziggler?
Well, okay, number one, I've never really gotten into Corbin, right? Nothing against the guy. I just don't see much in him myself. That's just me. But this feud's been going on since the night after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, because I didn't even remember it was going on. Like, I totally forgot.
I saw a picture the next night that had their match cards, like the little card where it shows his face and Ziggler's face, and this match, and it's it showed the last three, and then it showed WrestleMania 233, and it showed one guy really old, looking mean and pointing, another guy smiling, holding his teeth. Like they're still going at it all these years later. It's like real, because they're making fun of the fact that it's another freaking one-on-one match between these two guys. And I mean, I love Ziggler, man. He's awesome, and I really hope that with the draft we get him in a better position. Charlotte and Dana Brooke defeated Natalya and Becky Lynch, and then it was after the match that Natalya sort of did a heel turn and attacked Becky.
Yep, and that left us in an interesting place for that next Raw. We'll get into that in a minute, but again, that was just the women bringing it.
Apollo Crews defeated Sheamus. What seemed to be sort of like an upset victory, even though Apollo Crews is pretty jacked and really, he could fly around that ring. He's moves a lot quicker than what you would think
he looks like a full head of hair Bobby Lashley.
You know what? But he looks a lot more happier to be there.
True. That is very true.
Bobby Lashley has the smallest mouth of any guy I've ever seen.
And the girliest voice.
When I see him, Nate, do you remember Hulk Hogan's movie Suburban Commando?
Oh yeah.
The Undertaker's one line in that movie, and he sounds like a 4-year-old boy.
Oh, what's the line though?
You're a dead man, Ramsey.
Yeah. You're a dead man, Ramsey.
And then Hogan looks at him like, no wonder you guys never talk.
How isn't that a meme, by the way? To talk about Game of Thrones real quick as a crossover into this one.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great, You just...
maybe we should. I know at least one guy will get a kick out of that. Our last episode, Tony, he loves that part of that movie. And there will be like a couple of years will go by, and I'll just find the clip on YouTube and send it to him, and he will just love it. He'll die laughing.
Oh, that's awesome.
AJ Styles defeated John Cena in a phenomenal...
No pun intended.
Pun intended. This was a freaking great match.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, my gosh. To anybody that says John Cena can't wrestle, fuck off.
See, and I'm of that mind, too. I think, here's the difference. I feel like John Cena, kind of in his... in his peak of his height of his career, when he was winning championships and the spinner belt was a thing, and Edge was still in the company and all this stuff, he didn't work very much. His moveset was extraordinarily limited, but I think it took a guy like AJ Styles, who literally can work with fucking anybody and make them 50 times better than they've ever been, for John Cena to find a comfort zone where he can actually do some cool shit now.
Well, see, Cena's done that also. He's done it with Punk. He's done it with Bryan. He's done it with Bray. He's done it with Rusev. Okay, John in the last couple years has really turned up the volume. Okay, and I'm just gonna say it. His character is very bland and boring. He's very white meat babyface John Cena, and that's just who he is. I don't think we're gonna see a change of that anytime soon. And at this point, after 14 years, why?
Just let him ride his career out,
But okay, he still has his detractors, and I was a John Cena detractor for a number of years because I was just so tired of seeing him all the time. However, he hasn't gone away to go to Hollywood. He hasn't gone over here to do this when he clearly could. He has the chops. He has the talent to go do other stuff, but he doesn't want to. And I think we as fans, as much as we grow tired of the Cena-isms and here he comes again, Cena wins again, LOL, we do take for granted having a big guy on top who literally loves performing for us week in, week out, and who comes back from injuries sooner than he really should just to get back out there, just to meet more people, just to make more people happy, make more people smile, make more kids' wishes come true. Did you see the video with him and Cricket Wireless?
Oh, I did. I'm glad you brought it up. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Him surprising fans with the unexpected Cena. And the one girl, he cut his face out, and he was just putting his face in there staring at her. I thought that was great. I mean, you know what? And this is something I've always said, Brando, to touch on John Cena real quick. He, as a person, is to me one of the greatest, most likable humans to ever walk the face of this earth, because he is sincere, he is genuine. I feel like if you or me ever ran into John Cena on the streets, we could talk to him and he wouldn't be disrespectful or any of those things. He'd be like, hey, what's up? Let's chat for a minute. Oh, I got to go do this thing. And I think that says a lot about his character, which I've never questioned John Cena's character. I've questioned his wrestling character. And that's been the big issue is why is Vince and all these guys pushing the same person consistently with no change. And now it's to the point where it doesn't matter. Now he has his legacy. Mm-hmm. His legacy is set in stone. They're not going to take it away. They're not going to Hulk Hogan to him and turn him heel and do all that crazy shit. Maybe after he's out of the game for a little bit and goes away and retires for a couple years, if that's what he chooses to do, maybe they bring him back and do like a little bit of a ha-ha heel thing. But to have him still as talented as he is do that now, I just don't think it benefits him or the company.
No. He's in a very, unique position. He's never let this company down. So that's very important to talk about when we talk about something later. But John Cena has always been their rock, and he has been their rock the last 10 years. And while Vince may have wanted to move somewhere else, move here, move to this guy, nobody is as dependable as John is. And, he's really come through in these matches, especially with this match against AJ Styles. Despite how it ended, I feel like Styles could have beat him clean, and with Cena saying, I just got back from surgery, I just got back from injury. John losing now doesn't hurt him in one single bit.
Nope.
It doesn't hurt him. He's John Cena. So, okay, so people online are bitching about, Gallows and Anderson got involved, so AJ didn't really beat him. That's the storyline they're booking, though. That's the storyline they're telling where, the next night on Raw, Styles comes out and demands an apology, and it's sort of like this weird, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You go, see, they're not bad guys. They apologize. They're doing this storyline with these guys. They really make these guys different and interesting compared to just another heel group that's out there to beat people up.
Correct.
So, him winning that way works. And the fact that, it is people can spit and say, another cheap victory for someone against John Cena. It's a victory regardless. When you look back on, who should have won at WrestleMania 30, John or Bray Wyatt, the wrong person won. John against the Nexus at SummerSlam, it should have been the Nexus. They didn't mess this up, in my opinion.
I agree with you. It was an interesting victory, and then what it actually did was it allowed for a couple little things to happen, because now John has this beautiful feud with AJ that they can carry through SummerSlam, and they're gonna. Yep. Maybe further, but most likely it'll end at SummerSlam. So you got that going. You also had, and this happened this past week on Raw, now you have the ability where AJ and Cena could legitimately say, I deserve to be in the title match for the championship, and it was believable, and then they made the story interesting where they cost each other getting into that match, furthering their feud. Yep. And it's smart booking, and it goes back to what I've said. When the WWE books with full-blown intelligence and they know what they're doing, nothing can stop them. Because the talent is already there. The workers are already there. They know how to put on the matches. The part that's always lost in translation is, can you get these guys and these stories to come across believable and keep people interested?
Yeah, and the real challenge is to balance out who the company wants to push with who the fans want them to push. Sometimes it doesn't really correlate. It doesn't really match, and I get that. But there are times where you get a real section of the audience that are really pissed off that somebody like Ziggler's not being used right. You know, speaking of some people who like really want some of these guys to get used better. Not that they haven't been here lately, because I feel like some of these guys have really been taking advantage of a real hole in the roster. They've been really making their names felt across the weeks on television, and especially in this event. The Money in the Bank match was next. Dean Ambrose won. He got the Money in the Bank, and he defeated Alberto Del Rio, Cesaro, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. It was a really good Money in the Bank match. There's not much I can say about it. We've had so many over the years.
Can I touch on something with one of these competitors?
What's that?
I get it. I get that it's supposed to be over the top, but the drink it in, man. That shit bothers me, Brando. It bothers me. It's bizarre. Because it's like unbelievably rock star of Chris Jericho to say that, to the point that it actually makes me feel uncomfortable, which makes me think that they're doing a good job, but it's so bizarre I can't consider it good. You know?
I love how he's brought in this, you stupid idiot. He's saying that for everything.
That's good too, yes, absolutely.
Which is funny because now they're doing this sort of version of Chris, whereas like, was it 6 years ago they were doing like the quasi Nick Bockwinkel heel Chris, where he's in a suit,
yep.
No pyro, doesn't pose,
very stoic.
He's had very different roles that he's played. I love how Jericho comes in and really works hard to get these younger guys over. You really can't say that about The Rock. I love The Rock, but I mean, he can't come back in and lose to Sami Zayn. He's going to be a top draw. Jericho can be a top draw, sure, but then he's going to be a guy that's going to go in here that we know and love, who's going to help get Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, Dean Ambrose over. In this match, I thought it was a great match. I believe the right person won. That's the person I was hoping was going to win.
Agreed.
I thought if it wasn't going to be Ambrose, it was going to be Owens, and we would get a slow burn Money in the Bank carrier.
Someone who could build with the fans, and they would eventually want him. And it would be very much like the Ziggler.
We'll see. Yeah. See, the thing with Owens is that he is such a good freaking heel that the fans boo him, but then whenever he comes out, they always pop for him anyway.
Oh yeah, he's a phenomenal worker.
So like they like booing him. So Owens is a very unique, has a unique thing going on there. So Ambrose wins the Money in the Bank. Rusev defeats Titus O'Neil to retain the United States Championship. Titus O'Neil's kids were at ringside. They're really doing something with him, which is good since they suspended him for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
Months ago for tugging on Vince's arm, saying, be a man, let the woman go first, and Vince shoved him back. And and that happened. Did that happen right around like Martin Luther King Day?
Yeah.
So I mean, and Titus O'Neil's black. If anybody doesn't know, I'm not saying that Vince is racist. I'm just saying it's very, very awkward timing. He does not deserve to be suspended and miss Mania. Did he miss Mania? I thought he did.
Yeah, he did.
Come on, are you freaking serious?
Yeah.
Now they given him what, 2 title matches here, or did he have one, or did he? There's a lead up to this.
Didn't they have one on SmackDown? Him and Rusev, that kind of built the feud.
Did he finagle his way into a triple threat?
Maybe.
Earlier in the month, he got involved with Rusev, and then they got put in this match. Rusev wins. I thought the match was meh. It was it was there. I definitely think Titus could be something. I definitely like Titus's his out of ring personality. He's a very likable guy, which is why they had him as a heel for so long, and then they named him Father of the Year as a heel. Was he a heel when they did that? I don't remember, but
I think so, actually. I feel like he was a heel when they gave him the Father of the Year award.
I'm just a bad guy, but I'm a good dad.
Yeah.
Although I saw an interview with him with Michael Cole, and they asked him a little bit about the suspension. They really didn't go into it, put it that way, to talk about what he did to get suspended. But he said that he got to be home with his kids, and he goes, and that's everything, especially when how much he has to be away. And I'm like, that's a good answer.
Now, You're about to build to the main event of this roster or this match.
Or this card, yeah.
So let me ask you this question before you do that. Did you watch the 24 on Seth Rollins?
No.
Let me tell you what, man. It was awesome. I'm glad that I'm able to bring this up real quick. It showed me some behind the scenes stuff of Seth. You learn about him as a person. It could have been his DVD special. You know what I'm saying?
Well, those 24 specials are awesome.
They are. They're great. But a couple things to take away from it. Him and Cesaro had a lot of time to bond together because they were both rehabbing at the same time.
Yeah.
And he said that if it wouldn't have been for Cesaro, he probably would have actually given up a little bit because he had his mind and his heart set on returning at WrestleMania. And it didn't happen, and it broke him. And you can tell he's really like heartbrokenly upset that that's going to happen, and he's like, I spent the past year building for this moment, and I'm not even going to be a part of it. Like, I did all the legwork, and this is kind of where the real person bleeds into the character, and he's like, I carried this company on my back, I wrestled every show, and I did all these things. But the other thing is that backstage, not backstage, but behind the scenes a lot when Rollins was rehabbing, Cena was also there, keeping tabs on him, and that's going to lead into this past Monday and what I want to talk about. But what we get into is this main event between Rollins and Reigns. Before that even happens, the WWE knows they have a problem on their hands.
Yeah.
And I think they handled this actually pretty super geniusly.
So, to get through the card, Seth Rollins did defeat Roman Reigns.
Fact.
The WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And then Dean Ambrose cashed in Money in the Bank and kind of gave Seth Rollins a little taste of his own medicine.
Oh, absolutely.
Cashed in on him. And in one night, we had all three members of the Shield be WWE Champion. The thing about Seth beating Roman is that he won clean. 100% clean.
It was fair and square after two pedigrees.
Yes. Well, he did one spear. He caught Roman. Roman was going for the spear, and Seth caught him and jumped back. And it was sort of he didn't really hook the arms, but it was a great looking spot. I must say, these two tore the house down.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I know there's a lot of fans that aren't getting into Roman, and honestly, it's a shame because he is kind of like a boring character, all things considered, and not really that great on the mic. He is a great worker. He works his ass off, and he really tries. I mean, I can see it every time I watch him out there. Again, him being the champion, he does have those set of moves he always has to do, right? But he's working so hard to try and put on a good match, and I can just only imagine the frustration.
You know what? I have to say this, man. I think the suspension that we're about to talk about could maybe be the best thing that happened to him.
We'll definitely get into that, but I want to finish up this match first. Rollins worked more of a babyface role, running away, kind of heelish, yes, but Roman was being rough, man. Roman was, dude, he was like getting in his face, talking smack, kind of like getting a little bit more aggressive against Seth.
Correct.
Working more of a heel type role. And man, that crowd popped when Seth got that clean win. And then they popped again when Dean's music hit, and then again when he got the pin. Man, this show I'm gonna give honestly. I mean, the championship match and the Style Cena match are what take it here for me. Ladder match was pretty good for a ladder match.
Tag team title match was good.
Yeah, tag team title match was good. The Money in the Bank ladder match, unfortunately, I'm actually getting tired of the Money in the Bank gimmick. To be honest with you, because we're running out of ideas of what we could do in a Money in the Bank ladder match. We're running out of ideas of what we could do for a 6-man ladder match. We just saw a big 6-man ladder match or 7-man ladder match at WrestleMania. As much as I like ladder matches, it's like I'm getting bored. I'm getting, another guy's going to have the suitcase. And then depending on who won, it's like, he's going to be champion by the end of the year. Or what? I'm not saying it should go away forever. I'm saying they should take a break from it and, utilize some other idea, new idea, old idea, something. But But for what it was, the Money in the Bank was pretty good, but not above the two big matches for me, title match style Cena. And then I'm actually going to give this show probably a 7 because of those two matches, and then that third ladder match helped kind of bring it up a little bit too, because there were some pretty down spots. The Rusev Titus O'Neil match was a little flat. The Apollo Crews Sheamus match was pretty short and sweet. The Baron Corbin Ziggler match was, I don't even know why I was watching that. I mean, when you get to the second match on a card, you're like, what? Especially when you have the ability now, when you're just paying for the network anyway, and you have the ability to tune out or walk and leave the room, go make yourself a sandwich. When I'm watching a pay-per-view, I want to be eating wings, and I want to be enjoying myself. And there are some matches here that kind of brought it down to a 7 for me.
I was going to give it a 7.5, so average it at 7.25, and I think that's an okay rating for this Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, I say 7 like it's a bad thing.
That's a great number. Shit.
Especially when you consider that pretty much 3 matches or 4 matches with the tag match are what really bring it to that level, and the other stuff was just kind of there for me. Now, those were the big stuff that kind of happened, and then, of course, we mentioned the word suspension, so we got to go right into the suspension. Roman did appear on Raw, and they've set up the main event for the next network special, Battleground, but then the next day, he was announced as being suspended for violation of the wellness policy. Wow. You know what? When I saw this, I actually thought it was a hoax. I thought it was, I follow on Facebook, Kayfabe News, which is basically like the Onion for wrestling.
Yeah.
And they post outrageous stuff that you think is just like, sometimes it just reading it makes you laugh. But at first, I had to do a double take to make sure who's the poster of this. And I'm like, what? And I read it and I'm like, what? Oh my God, because this changes a lot of things. We mentioned how Reigns had problems getting over with the fans. He was being pushed as the top guy. Cena's replacement, in a sense. Okay?
Yeah.
And he goes down with the wellness policy, and he responded with a tweet that they talked about on this past Monday of Raw about saying, I made a mistake, I own it. What do you think he did? I mean, we can only conjecture. They're not saying what he did. Do you think it was recreational?
I think they didn't say, actually.
No, and they're not going to say. I'm just saying conjecture here. I mean, because I can see a guy being under this amount of stress, maybe doing a little something on the weekend or on a day off.
See, I thought a little bit different than that.
Do you think it could be performance enhancing that maybe he made a mistake?
No, I think he might have taken a painkiller. I think he's in a lot of pain, man. Look at all the matches he's worked.
Yeah.
Although the fact remains they've booked him very poorly since the Royal Rumble 2 years ago now, when he should have won, and they gave it to Batista, and last year when he shouldn't have won, and they gave it to him anyways. It's all this bass-ackward shit that they did with Roman. I think that it was just kind of like, he's been working nonstop. He doesn't really take breaks. He's just a top guy, like you said. He does everything. Do I think he's been in a lot of pain? And maybe somebody said, "Hey man, you just want to take one painkiller?" There's no way they'll fucking pop you for it. And then of course he got popped. Somebody posted online, it was ecstasy, and I was like, no, it wasn't. He's not gonna. What? Come on now. But who knows, man? Who knows? I don't know. And I think we had discussed this. Was it you and I that discussed? Because I said something to the effect of you had told me he was really laid back backstage like RVD, and I was like, did they really bust him for weed? That would be so foolish.
It would be.
But then you had backed it up with the fact, or no, it was my buddy Rob. I was talking to my buddy Rob, and he said, and not Silent Rob, for those of you who also listen to Journey Into Comics, but Rob and I were talking, and he goes, man, I'm pretty sure that Brian Kendrick said he just paid the WWE like $2,000 a month in fines just to support his marijuana habit, because it's not something that's on their wellness calendar anymore. Like, they don't dock you for it. So I'm not sure what it was, honestly. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I did hear that there is a potential for you to be taking some supplements because obviously when you're on the road, you're trying to stay in shape, tip-top shape, you'll be taking some stuff to help you stay in good shape. And sometimes there'll be stuff that's questionable that you don't know if it is good to take. Or stuff that, oh yeah, this is good to take, and it turns out it's not good to take, and it comes up wrong on the test. So there's a couple things that could have gone wrong here. Unfortunately, he, just by the wording, I tell you what, they're very general. When you hear the words, Roman Reigns suspended due to wellness policy violation, that is bad press.
Very vague.
I mean, when you think about it, they're trying to build a company around him. They're trying to make him the next John Cena, the next Austin, the next Hogan of the next era, right? Man, that's bad. It is really bad. And apparently I did read that the reason why they knew about it, as we actually alluded to earlier, they knew about it could be days before Money in the Bank. And Vince was adamant about Reigns losing clean to Rollins right in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, they don't want to take credibility away from him, and I think that's why a lot of people in the back are quite upset with Roman, because he is... You would think, okay, I want to say a couple years ago, Brando, Jack Swagger had a title shot, and they took it, or he was the champ, right?
He was, he was the world champion,
and they stripped him, right? Is that right?
He lost to Mysterio, I want to say.
I can't fully remember, but I know that there was a no bullshit. He just boom, it was there. They didn't fuck around with it, and it seems like, because Reigns is seemingly like the next Cena, he's kind of the, quote-unquote brown noser to Vince, even if that's not the case.
He's not a brown noser to Vince. He's just Vince's pick. Vince always has his pick, okay? You can go all the way back to where Brett had the title, and then Vince made a deal with Hogan. Hogan gets the belt at Mania 9. And then, you would think, oh, well, we're going to work it around to Brett being the guy. And then Hogan sort of leaves, and Vince gets it in his mind. He's going to replace Hogan. He's going to have the next American hero, and he visualizes Luger as being that guy. So Luger is the guy. Luger is the guy they're going to build. He's going to be the best. Going to SummerSlam, you know what? I have a better idea. Let's have him sort of win, but then we'll kind of he won't win, and then we'll have it for a big Mania moment, Mania 10, the launch of the new generation. And Luger just could not sustain what Vince wanted him to, and he had to go back to Brett. You can say that Vince always has the idea of who is his guy, who's the next big guy. And unfortunately, since Cena, there's only been a few guys that potentially could have been that, but it wasn't until Reigns that he said, this guy. He's got the look. He's got the, he could have the ability to do it. And we're going to make him our guy. And with this, man... it really hurts that. It really hurts the credibility of the company when you have this guy on Good Morning America after Mania, 30, was it 32 this year? I couldn't remember which one it is because they don't number him anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just, sitting there with Charlotte as, these are the two poster childs of the WWE, and, he's failing drug tests. It's not good. Apparently he was, on the news article here he was, forced to apologize to the locker room.
Yeah, and some guys thought it was too harsh of punishment. And other guys who I feel are pretty upset, and we haven't said this yet to our listeners, but some of the people in the locker room who were upset because Roman is still on the fucking main event for Battleground, because his suspension will run out 3 days prior to Battleground.
Yep.
And man, it's a bizarre call. Brando, you should just take him out of the title picture, make it Rollins versus Ambrose.
Then lead into SummerSlam if you still want to do that.
Exactly. And use the triple threat at SummerSlam where it'll be huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Especially since SummerSlam is going to be a 4-hour event this year.
Damn, I didn't know that. That is a long show.
Last year was the first year that I recall they really made SummerSlam like a WrestleMania type hype and pre-show and all this shit. So they're trying to make that a second WrestleMania of the year.
I don't know, man. I'm just hoping, real quick to interject, I'm just hoping that Reigns going away for this 30-day suspension will be enough if they can, and they totally didn't, they did no bullshit about it straight up had Rollins address it on Raw, which was great TV.
Which actually goes into my next news article.
Okay.
Could be what Vince has planned for him coming back as a sort of redemption storyline, where they want to tell how the controversy put Reigns down and it would be a way for him to work his way back up to what he was before, maybe even better than what he was. And Vince hopes that if he can tell the story right, it may finally get the fans to buy into him. And then the credibility of this is sort of built upon how Stephanie referred to his failure as an embarrassment to the company, and having Rollins call him out, was another thing. So they could really...
It's kind of like they're building real backstage heat on TV. Even though it's not real, because people are like, he fucked up, whatever, it's a mistake.
Well, yeah, they're doing work shoot with it. They're going to take something that really happened and try to form, some story out of it and try to really build Reigns with it, because it's obviously they're not done with him, but he is getting punished. I mean, I think one article I read said that this suspension could cost him upwards to $100,000.
Dang.
Because you don't get paid when you're on suspension.
Correct. And you know what though? And then that's another thing. Reigns hasn't been injured, has he? He literally was in the Shield, left the Shield, has worked event after event after event.
He got injured once because him and Bryan went out around the same time. And then Bryan came back, Roman was coming back, but they didn't put Bryan on television. They would put Roman in these weird, awkward television spots where he would do like via satellite interviews, because they were trying to keep him relevant because they wanted him to win the Rumble, and he can't talk, so he just was really awkward. In my opinion, you should have just ignored him entirely and had him come out in the Rumble, and the people would have popped.
Absolutely, distance makes the heart grow fonder.
And same. And then what really hurt that year is, of course, I mean, we're rehashing old stuff, but Bryan's like, I'm coming back for the Rumble, and people are like, well, he's gonna win, dude. He never lost the fucking title. And it's like, no, they never planned for it. They should have. That's a whole other thing. But when you talk about the people getting suspended, Jerry Lawler, King.
Oh man, King, that was a hard one to see, Brando.
I know.
I mean, I just fucking met this guy a couple weeks ago, which I don't know if we've even actually talked about on the show yet.
We may have talked about it.
I don't rightly remember.
I think you did. I think you did on the last episode, and you told a story, because we played the little bumper that he did for us at the beginning of that show, and I got news.
Okay.
So apparently Lawler and his fiance, there were charges filed for domestic violence, the domestic dispute, and he was indefinitely suspended by WWE immediately because they have a zero tolerance policy. Like, pretty much they don't know the story. They're just like, that, boom, gone. We'll figure it out. Charges have been dropped against both. Charges will be expunged from their records, and Lawler's attorney said that it was a big misunderstanding. It won't happen again. We're really happy with the outcome.
Yeah, and I think that was one of those things. I was trying to tell Sarah and Veronica this. It was like, you see that headline, and then I instantly started reading, and what the Lawler's fiance said in the story was like, he came home belligerently drunk and angry, and that he put a gun on the counter and told her to kill herself, and all this fanciful shit. And on the flip side, he's like, no, she's the one that has a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. She hit me, and I just defended myself.
And then she brought the gun into the picture. Exactly.
So, very bizarre. I'm happy to know that the charges have been dropped. Hopefully that means Lawler will be back on TV soon. Yeah. And that's something that can be repaired. Maybe they'll just bring him back and draft him, and that'll be his return to TV.
Maybe they'll just bring him back and not even mention it. Because, I mean, it was a personal matter. They had nothing to do with the company. Unlike Roman's suspension, which was directly relatable. This is something that happened outside of the company, and that has seemed to work itself out. Despite the stories that are being told, they said the charges have dropped. So obviously, clearer heads have prevailed here, and so that I'm just happy everything worked out. Especially because I don't want the King to go away, man. She's just started doing that whole heel gimmick, and I've been loving it.
And we just got him to do our fucking tag for the show. God damn it!
I know. So now we're gonna start switching gears, because now the draft is coming up, and I got some news articles about the draft.
Sure, bring it on. Let's go.
That we can sort of do. Now, there have been rumors that they're going to be bringing back older people, some older talent, as well as looking at newer talent. And one of the talents they're looking at is Prince Puma from Lucha Underground. He's no longer under contract. And if this is right, I'm going to do a really quick double check search because I don't want to be wrong here.
Okay. Sure.
But
Better to fact check, man. That's how I always say.
Well, I can't fucking type. That's a big problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will say...
Okay.
Oh, you go.
So he is also known as Ricochet, who was one of the wrestlers in the Ricochet Osprey match that we watched and talked about on the last episode.
Oh, the super talented but kind of overdone choreographed match that happened in like Japan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's one of them. And so they're looking at bringing him in potentially, if he wants to sign. And apparently, there's been back and forth saying about Kurt Angle.
I know. I have heard the Kurt Angle news.
Now Angle says he's not. Now there's another case like they're saying that it could be the company swerving people, and they're telling him not to say anything so he can come out on SmackDown and go, ha, I'm here.
Yeah, and because the thing was before. It was a different interview, I want to say. They said, well, are you coming back? And he said, it's not if, it's when I'm coming back.
That was the last one. He said, I haven't the draft hasn't been talked about. We haven't talked about that. I talked a few weeks ago, and they want to focus on younger talent. And then he said, it's not a matter of if, it's when. He goes, I am looking at next year, 2017. He goes, if it's going to happen, it'll be then. But that could just be all something just to swerve people. Despite rumors, Jeff Hardy, Mysterio have not been contacted. They're both under contracts with TNA and Lucha Underground. Now, another thing with the draft is the current idea is to have for the brand split is there to be different crews, writing teams, referees, colored ropes, and sets. This is the big thing for me. Sets.
Finally.
So we've had the same HD set for a number of years now, and it's boring.
Super boring.
And it appears that Finn Balor and American Alpha will be debuting on the main roster once the brand split takes place.
That makes sense. That's a good time to bring them up.
Both those guys just lost their titles at NXT TakeOver.
And Finn didn't win the title.
Yes. So here's something I want to talk about.
Sure.
In this last episode of Raw, they quit referring to the WWE Championship or World Heavyweight Championship as that, and they've been calling it the WWE Championship again.
Uh-huh.
Does this mean that they're bringing back a second world title?
I think we had maybe brushed on this in the last episode, but to me, I would actually prefer if they don't. I think they need to have one working champ between the two shows. He can show up on whichever, whenever. You can put him on feuds however. You could have interesting things where Stephanie on Raw books fucking so-and-so to fight the champ, but Shane on SmackDown books so-and-so to fight the champ. What are we going to do? It'd be super interesting if it was a triple threat, or if the champ had two, very much like Chris Jericho defeated both The Rock and Stone Cold in one night, had two title matches in one night. That makes him a real fighting champion. It makes it interesting. To me, man, part of me also says, yes, you need two championships, but that takes away from the validity of your IC title and your US title. When you clog with too many titles, like when they have too many tag titles and too many women's titles and too many, undercard titles, your cruiserweight titles coming back though, right?
The Cruiserweight Classic is happening, but I don't know if the title's coming back.
Okay. So, I don't know. Maybe we get another belt, but I don't know. Let
me just say that I agree with you 100%, but I also disagree with you 75%.
Interesting.
I don't know how that math
Does
works.
that make it 25% agreeance? It's a strong 25.
All right, let me just say this. Because before I said I was very adamant against bringing back another world title. I feel differently now, especially with stuff I know. Now, I do agree with you what you said about it devalues the IC and US belt, which they've really tried to bring forward and really raise the value of those titles going forward. That only happens when you don't have enough of a roster, okay? In my opinion. When you have both shows, like back when the first brand split happened, and probably from 02, 03, 04, and then 05. After 05 and 06 is when it started, diluting. You had really solid built rosters. then they started, then the roster started thinning and thinning and thinning to the point of, then when you had 2 world titles without a brand split, the other titles didn't mean shit. The mid-card titles can mean something if you have enough of a roster to build around that title. Now, apparently there was a leak, and this leak was the pay-per-view schedule for this year, the revised one. And apparently this has been, cited as now it's been confirmed. And for the rest of the year, okay, so we have Battleground coming up, right? We are in July.
Mm-hmm.
We have... Wait, hold on. Let me recount that. 9 pay-per-view events for the rest of the year. Where does that math add up?
Well, there's only 6 months left.
So we have Battleground.
Okay.
We have SummerSlam.
Uh-huh.
Then we have a SmackDown pay-per-view.
Okay.
Then we have a Raw pay-per-view.
Okay.
And a SmackDown pay-per-view.
Okay.
Then a Raw pay-per-view, then Survivor Series.
Okay. Then SmackDown, then Raw, then Rumble?
Yes. So we are now getting 2 pay-per-views a month besides the big 4.
Well, that's awesome and interesting. It's going to make, again, look at this, man. They're firing on all cylinders, because if that actually works out, if this reimagined brand split works out, okay, and they have this massive, massive amount of people that they can work with. They've got NXT, Raw, and SmackDown firing on all cylinders, bringing great product. I mean, they unintentionally monopolize the wrestling industry aside from other countries' markets. I'm talking New Japan Wrestling mainly. But you're essentially saying, TNA, we don't give a fuck about you. We're putting you on a business. Global Force Wrestling, we're going to put our feet on your head before you even get going. And no one else can stop us. We're unstoppable now, and we love our product.
Now, a friend of mine said, man, too many pay-per-views, too many or network specials really dilute it. And I'm like, well, I guarantee you that was my mindset 10 years ago when they were in the pay-per-view business. Mm-hmm. Now they're trying to sell the network. You pay $9.99 a month and you get 2 network specials, maybe 3 if you have the NXT thing going on, and then you have the big 4. Excuse me? That is awesome. They're
pretty much giving the product away at that point.
Because, all right, so you have Battleground, you have SummerSlam. Battleground will be a double. It'll be the last non-Big 4 double one as far as I can tell. But the Battleground will be like the Sunday after the draft. And then SmackDown, all the Big 4 will be dual roster. And now the first roster exclusive pay-per-view is on September 11th, 2016, Backlash.
What?
And it's SmackDown.
Oh.
Now, the one, and we talked about this right for air, September 9th.
Night of Champions.
But not every title can be on the line, can it?
No.
So it's not called Night of Champions anymore.
Okay.
Clash of Champions.
Oh.
And that's a Raw pay-per-view or a network special.
And that would be, we could go ahead and maybe spoil it here, something we're looking to actually go to.
That's in Indianapolis, and that's down in my neck of the woods. And I'm definitely going, and I don't want to go by myself, so I'm hoping you can go with me.
Yeah, I mean that would be the absolute. That'd be the coolest thing, man. I haven't been to a live wrestling event, like a televised event, since
09?
Yeah, it would have been Judgment Day 09.
Yeah,
Edge fought Jeff Hardy for the title. I thought CM Punk was going to cash in. He had the first match of the night versus Umaga. And then they had Umaga beat him, and he didn't even cash in Chicago. Foolish. But I digress.
So, after Clash of Champions is the SmackDown event called No Mercy.
Oh, they're bringing all the good titles back.
Then it's a Raw event at the end of October called Hell in a Cell.
Okay, makes sense.
Survivor Series, dual brand.
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown in early December gets TLC.
Okay.
And then Raw at the end of December, or just a few weeks later, gets Roadblock.
Oh, Roadblock. Oh, they did that last year.
or they did it this year right before Mania. It was a
That's
little
right. It was
network
a special.
only. Now, see, here's the thing: is that with them having network or brand specific events, right? Because think about it, you have September 11th and then September 25th. Okay, that is like, there's a week in between those, and that's it. And to have one world champion do both those events, man, that champion's going to get wore out. And if they have the roster available, and with them changing the name of the WWE Championship, they're bringing back the World Heavyweight title.
You're probably right, actually.
I honestly, that's how I see it. If it was going to be dual brand events, one a month, I would say one champion, all you need. If they're doing this and they're doing 2 events a month besides the big 4, you're going to need 2 champions because you're going to have to be able to craft your stories from one event leading to the other.
Absolutely.
Because how could you build a world title match in 2 weeks from a SmackDown event and then go, well, this week on Raw, because otherwise you're going to be booking the Raw match well before the SmackDown one, well after, like, so you got the SmackDown one, and next week I face this guy, but after that I'm facing you. What if
they bring the Winged Eagle back?
Oh, that'd be crazy. You're talking crazy talk. Now I've heard that rumor was they were going to make the women's division exclusive to one brand. That's no longer on the table. It's going to be a dual brand title. Honestly, if you're going to make it single brand, put it on Raw because they have an extra hour.
Yep.
And you can just devote way more time to the women's division.
Yep.
Just saying, bro. Now, did I have something else? For news?
I don't think you had any. As far as I know, you don't have any more news. I shouldn't speak for you.
No more news. But it's very interesting because it makes me wonder where we're going to be at. They're going all full force into this. This isn't a half-ass thing. This is like each brand is going to be its own thing. And with SmackDown going live, it's going to benefit that. And on Tuesday, not Thursday. So when you have a pay-per-view or what's now a network special, so now you have Backlash, the SmackDown event. You only have to wait till Tuesday to get the fallout from that.
Yeah, there's no super delay. You're waiting one day, which is Raw, which will probably give you maybe a 30-second SmackDown recap. They used to do those.
Yeah, they're going to focus more on the Raw stories, but they'll probably mention, hey, man, last night was a pretty cool SmackDown event, wasn't it?
Total barn burner,
and we're going to do better 2 weeks from now at Clash of Champions.
Yeah.
And then on the next night, you'll see the fallout. So it's very, very interesting, and I'm excited because I want to know what the rosters are going to look like. I want to know who's going to be on what show. I want to see what feuds we're going to get out of this.
Well, I think that's interesting because that can lead into the next bit that I know you wanted to do, where we can actually kind of play potential GMs of these shows. And we're going to do a little mini draft here where we're going to draft 10 superstars apiece. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do the supplemental draft and get into all that.
No.
Maybe if we get really crazy and have a lot of free time on our hands, we'll take turns saying, okay, I want to draft that person. Well, fine, I'll draft this person. So, Brando, I don't know if you have some sort of app that's going to flip the coin to see who gets...
There is a digital coin flip.
Okay.
You just go to Google and type in flip a coin, and there's a little coin here that it'll flip. So I'll let you call it. And we're just going to go on the faith system here. I'm not going to lie to you.
Let's go with Ned's heads.
Ned's heads. Flipping tails.
Okay.
So I get to choose what brand I want to do, and I'm going to do SmackDown.
Okay.
I want to be on SmackDown. And we're going to do another flip.
I'll let you call.
I'm going to call Ned's head as well and see who is going to get the first draft pick. Tails!
Tails, so I have first draft pick on Raw. I will, with my first draft pick, take the WWE champion, former WWE champion, Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins?
Yep.
Well, that makes my pick easier. All right, Seth Rollins goes to Raw. Brando drafts Dean Ambrose, the WWE champion.
Now, let me tell you, the reason why I drafted Seth Rollins is because I wanted SmackDown and I wanted to draft Dean. So I figured you can just have him because that's where he belongs.
Well, okay. So now, as Raw is essentially without a world title, which means you're going to have to make your own or redo the world heavyweight title, or however you want to do that.
Okay.
Bring back the WCW title. Bring back the NWA title that you could just buy at this point.
That's true. You could.
I don't know. Well, I mean, they're still going, and they're still saying we're the NWA, and anyway. Your pick.
Pick 2.
Yeah, pick 2.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Cool pick. My pick is the NXT champion, Samoa Joe.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's a great pick. Pick 3 for me?
Yep.
Let's look here. I want to take Sami Zayn.
Good. Sami Zayn going to Raw. SmackDown drafts John Cena.
Interesting. I like that pick. This is my 4th.
Yep.
Calling a fantasy pick here. Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle returns to Raw. As I write angles.
Kurt Angles. They're all 90 degrees. They make a square.
Kurt Angle returns for angles. I am going to draft Kevin Owens.
Oh, good. Okay, number 5 for moi. Let me go ahead and looking at all this talent. I want Dolph Ziggler. For sure.
I'm just going to type in Ziggler.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm just easier to type. So this is my 5th pick.
Yep.
We're halfway home.
Yep.
5th pick. I'm going to go with Finn Balor.
I knew it. I just said in my head he's going with Finn Balor, and you called Finn Balor.
Well, I almost didn't. I almost went somebody else.
Okay.
I'm just gonna play the field and kind of see where this goes.
Okay, so it's pick 6 for me. Who do I really want to take across the board here? Let's man, I'm trying to draft younger talented guys to keep this roster fresh. So I want Shinsuke Nakamura.
Nakamura, good one. I like that.
Yeah, I think he would make a great addition to Raw, considering the talent I want him to work with.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Him and Rollins, tear the house down.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go with Cesaro.
Oh, great pick. For 7, I will take... This is tough. But I think I need a leader in the locker room. So I really think I'm going to draft Randy Orton.
I was hoping you were going to forget about him.
No way. Are you kidding me? The Viper?
I'm going to draft the Wyatt family.
Okay. Is that how this works?
NWO rules, buddy.
Okay. That's cool.
Remember that?
I do remember NWO rules. Nick Patrick, he was a referee.
Well, in the first ever draft, Ric Flair drafted the NWO.
That is true. That is very true. So you're going to draft the Wyatts. Then I have to draft the New Day.
I already started typing it.
You knew I was going to do that, huh?
I did.
I really like both Kofi and Xavier and Big E as well. So when you're like, oh, I'll just take these 3, I was like, okay, me too.
Well, technically, I got 4, I think.
Oh yeah. I forgot they've got.
He's out on injury.
Yeah.
Oh, who am I going to take, man? Who am I going to get? This is number 8 for me?
Yeah, number 8. Because I'm about to be at 9.
All right. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and draft Rusev.
Nice.
That way I get the U.S. title.
Okay. My 9th pick, I will take Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. And for my 9th pick, oh man, where do I go with this? Oh man. See, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty.
Not really. I see like 7 different people I still want to talk about drafting, but I've only got 1 pick left, so I'm going to have to see.
I'm doing this without looking at the roster. I'm just doing it for my head. So
Me too.
I'm actually going to go look at the roster real quick.
Oh, cheap.
Because there's somebody... Well, there's somebody that you could draft just because of what he has.
Oh, yeah, The Miz. Because he's got the IC title, obviously, it needs to be on Raw. That's not how I'm looking. I'm trying to build a brand of just sheer unstoppable talent.
Okay.
You've got your leader in John Cena.
I do. Oh, yes, I do.
I've got a couple leaders with Roman and Randy. So
I definitely decided to go with Cena because I really think he can really help elevate some of this younger talent. He's not well, I guess he's writing out the contract. I was very point fingers ago. He's not there anymore, but he totally is. All right, you know what? I know exactly who I'm going to do here. I know exactly who I'm going to do. I am going to shoot for it. I'm going for Kalisto.
Interesting. Taking half of the luchas. This is
now we're at number 10.
This is my 10th and final pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Zack Ryder.
Awesome. See, I was actually torn between him and Kalisto.
I really like Zack Ryder. I've always been a champion for him all the way back into the woo, you know it, in the early days of that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. A lot of the tag teams we avoided because I don't think we wanted to split them up. But you still have the 10th pick.
I was actually going to pull my NWO clause on my 2nd pick.
Go for it.
I was going to pick the club.
But that would be just Gallows and Anderson.
Well, AJ Styles he's in the club, isn't he?
Yeah, but I drafted him already.
Well, see, that was going to be my number 2, but you drafted Styles.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying that was your second time you were going to use the NWO clause your final pick.
That was the time I was going to use it, and I was like trying to think of something. I'm like, I can just do the Wyatt so I can get Bray, then I can get Harper. The other 2 guys, Roman's not bad, and Braun's there. But for my last one, Brock Lesnar.
Part-timer who has the cover of 2K17.
Tell you what, that's why he's my last pick. I didn't go full bore with him because while I could draft Sheamus, I did tell you what, Sheamus can be good, but I don't really think he is. Again, I tried to avoid. I did want to split up Enzo and Cass because I really feel like one is not that great without the other. I could have went with Apollo Crews, but you said he has a full head of hair. He does not.
He doesn't?
He's bald now, but he still has a bigger mouth than Bobby Lashley, so I'll give that to him. I could have gone. I almost drafted Bubba Ray Dudley by himself and have him start going Bully Ray. Part of me wanted to do Jericho, but then, Jericho's also a part-timer, but Lesnar's going to be a part-timer that's going to bank. When you have a live SmackDown show where Lesnar does not appear on Raw, people are going to tune into SmackDown to see him. That's
true. That's very true.
I also drafted Triple H as well, but I didn't know. At the same, he only really comes out during major things. Lesnar wrestles more than that, and so we're going to run down our rosters. Nate, you have Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Kurt Angle, Ziggler, Nakamura, Randy Orton, The New Day, Roman Reigns, and Zack Ryder.
Good first 10, I think.
Yeah, I do think so. Brando has the WWE Champion Dean Ambrose, NXT Champion Samoa Joe, John Cena, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Cesaro, Wyatt Family, U.S. Champion Rusev, Kalisto, and Brock Lesnar. Conveniently, the Women's Champion was not drafted, neither was the Intercontinental Champion. The Tag Champions were drafted, but we are unsure how that's going to work. If there's going to be 2 separate tags, or if there's going to be like a traveling tag.
I would like it to be traveling, where they can do either show, and that way you can keep your tag team division rocking like it already is.
Right, and there's no need to kill it. If they're not going to have the women's, which is why I think one reason why we didn't draft the women's champion is because we both sort of knew that. See, that's one reason why I wanted to bring up the question of the WWE champion, because I was definitely going to draft him if you didn't.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question, because this is highly plausible. You've got 2 siblings that are going to be running the companies, or the brands. What if they enact a trade, 1 for 1? Who of mine do you want, and who of yours do I want? That'd be the question.
If I had to take one of yours, it would be AJ Styles.
And if I had to take one of yours, it'd be Samoa Joe, so...
It's second fix.
I mean,
tell you what, I'm really excited to see where this draft is going to lead us into different feuds going forward. I'm really excited to, if Raw's feeling a little stale, I'm going to, I can just remember, so SmackDown's going on. I have 2 different things that I can follow, because when I was a kid, I could never watch SmackDown. I didn't get the damn show, so I was really out of the loop until I did watch tapes of events, or if I went to your house for WrestleMania. I didn't know what storylines were going on unless I read about it online. I didn't really get a chance to watch it. So, I mean, now both of them are on USA. Raw's a flagship. My opinion here, okay, number 1, Raw should go back down to 2 hours.
Agreed, 100%.
Number 1, even though they tout, hey, 3rd-hour commercials are awesome, dude, it needs to be even. You need to have 2 hours. I don't want 3 hours SmackDown. I think 2 hours is the magic number. You have 2 hour Raw, 2 hour SmackDown, 1 hour Superstars, 1 hour main event, 1 hour NXT. Then you have the special on Sundays.
Now, who gets Superstars? Who gets main event?
I think they taped Superstars after Raw, main event after SmackDown. Because main event, I don't know if it still is, but when the network started, main event went live.
Yep.
And aired live on the network. And then they taped SmackDown to air on Friday nights.
Bizarre.
It was bizarre, but it was a selling point for the network because that was like right. Because they're doing NXT, but they tape NXT television, so like that was like the weekly live 1 hour wrestling show they were doing was the main event, and they were giving like, because I remember and the build up to the Lesnar Taker match, they actually had Taker come out on the main event and do a promo and confront Heyman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean,
I want to make one prediction real quick.
What's that?
My one prediction is this. I do believe in September, CM Punk debuts in the UFC. If he loses, he will end up back in a WWE ring. I believe that Shane McMahon is the guy to do that. I think Shane can bring him back to wrestling, if anybody can do it.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to note. I mean, I know Punk doesn't go anything half-assed.
That's
when
true.
When he starts feeling like he's not into it and giving it his all, he wants to, why do it? And that's why one of the reasons why he left, right? Because he really felt like he didn't give a shit anymore. When you have a guy going up against The Undertaker at WrestleMania and you don't give a shit, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when he was still undefeated. I mean, yes, there's a slim chance you might, be the guy to beat him, but then you're in there with the Taker, even though you've been in there with him before. You're on WrestleMania, and I think that is a problem when you don't think that's a big deal. And one reason why I'm glad he didn't win, because if he didn't care, why give it to him? But I definitely I like our drafts, and honestly, I hope that's how they do it, and I know in more recent years they did the automatic select picks.
Yeah.
We did it more akin to the original draft with Vince and Ric Flair, where one was on Raw, one was on SmackDown, and I want to say SmackDown got the first pick last time too, and he picked The Rock, didn't he?
I thought The Undertaker was the first pick.
Was he first and Raw was the first? Because he was in a feud with Taker when he drafted him.
Man, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and watch.
Well, we have Google. We have Google questions right here live on the podcast. Who was the first WWE Draft pick?
The answer is...
I actually have to read. It didn't actually...
It doesn't just give it to you.
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. For the first one, it says, and it was the undisputed title was ineligible. Here, let's maybe expand this. Man, this is like way too much. Superstar selections. Number 1, SmackDown was The Rock. Number 1, Raw was Undertaker. Number 2 was SmackDown, Kurt Angle. Number 2, Raw was NWO. And then McMahon allowed the NWO to be drafted as a group. Number 3, SmackDown was Chris Benoit. Yeah. However, when he was drafted while recovering from neck surgery, when he made his return, he went to Raw brand instead. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm really interested to see how they do it. I hope they do the first 10 as picks because when you have no draft going on or like no split roster, because like later on you can do the random picks when there's already split rosters. And I think that's funny and cool and interesting because then it's like you don't know who's going to leave and the person in charge of the company doesn't know who he's getting. However, it's like when you're first starting it, it's like, let's do random one. SmackDown gets... Hornswoggle. Damn it!
Yeah.
Even though he's gone from the company, but that would just... they're trying to say this is the new era. This is a new exciting era, and that would be the stupid crap they would pull. The first draft pick of the new era is Hornswoggle.
Yeah, oops.
Like, really, you son of a bitch.
Everyone's like, back to the old way.
But you know what? I really do like your picks. I think you have some really cool and awesome matches. I would love to see Rollins and Styles. And obviously, since I have the WWE Championship in this way, you would have to crown a new world champion, and you would have several guys there who could lay claim.
Well, I would do a tournament, honestly.
Yeah. I would definitely love to see AJ and Seth go one-on-one. Because honestly, here's this, and here's the closer for the world title thing. I definitely think there's going to be a second world title, because I think that's how we're going to see AJ be a definite world champion in his run here.
Awesome.
And I think that's how we're going to see John Cena become a 17-time world champion.
Interesting.
I just think that's... With there being one title, Cena hasn't been the champion for a while. Because they're trying to push Reigns, they're trying to push Rollins, and now Ambrose. That's awesome. Cool. That's great, because Cena doesn't need it. When you do have two brands, and when you do have two world titles, Cena's going to get it.
At least once, yeah.
He's going to get it at least one more time. And AJ is now considered a big star of the company, which they didn't envision him being that when he first came in.
No, but the reaction from the crowd, man. He's over.
It's the reaction and the matches.
Oh, yeah.
That he's been having with Jericho, with Reigns, with Cena.
Now, to bring it back real quick to the WWE 24 thing with Seth, one thing I'm guessing you probably didn't know is there's a very specific person in the career path of Seth Rollins that gave him the confidence to know he was meant to do what he's doing now, and that was AJ Styles. They had a match when Rollins was 19.
Awesome.
And AJ, I think, won. They were in like some shitty gym. It was probably right around the time that TNA was trying to get AJ to work for them.
Oh, how old is Rollins?
29 now, I think, or 28. He's got to be close to my age.
Well, because that was 10 years ago, so AJ already would have been in TNA, but they still work independent bookings.
Okay, so then that's very possible. But AJ got on the mic after the event was over, and in front of a crowd of like 30 people, a lot of which were just Seth's family. He just put him over about how this kid's the future. Like, it's hard to even imagine that I could be working with someone as talented as Seth Rollins. Well, he was, I think, by his original name back then, but Robin Lopez or something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. But it's interesting to see that now that they could quite possibly work together on Raw, which would be kind of like a dream for both of them.
Now, I want to say that it's very interesting to note that going forward, I guess there are like live events, because they're going to run Raw and SmackDown separate live events now, that names like Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns have been advertised, and Cena's been advertised for the Raw shows. So it looks like they're going to keep Reigns and Cena on different brands, and it could possibly end up being that the Shield members end up on one show to carry that show probably. And then, but I would, however this works out, it's good for us. We're going to get new matches. We are going to get new feuds, and we're going to get, with the splitting of the rosters and them needing to put out a 3-hour Raw with a half-size roster. You're going to get Ziggler in a more prominent role. You're going to get this guy in a more prominent role. Same thing on SmackDown. Zack Ryder's, guys who aren't really doing anything right now are going to have more to do.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time, man, and the next episode will probably be right after we see the draft happen.
That airs on a Tuesday, and I envision us meeting up that Wednesday, the day after, to talk about it. So,
I'm totally down for that, man. I'm super excited.
Because there might be a way, but I think that'd be the safe bet. That's guaranteed to happen. Now, looking at the original draft, both the Intercontinental titles and European title were exclusive to Raw, and the Hardcore title went to SmackDown. However, Raven would defeat Maven for the title prior to the separation to bring the title back. It makes you wonder why they didn't think about that and just make the IC title on Raw, European title on SmackDown, and they never had to bring the US title back.
Oh, things we'll never know, Brando. Those are decisions we can't make. But I think that's it for this week.
It is. We went quite a long time on this one talking about... There was a lot to talk about, you know?
Yeah, it was a solid episode. We did a mock draft officially. Had some picks that if they actually... We're going to have to see. That'll be an interesting thing to find out, too, whether or not some of these picks actually come true or not.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how close maybe we were, and with some of the names, I definitely foresee like Orton getting picked, even though he's on injury or getting drafted, just because he's slated to come back in August. And who knows? Maybe we'll get surprises like Angle or like Carlito or MVP.
Oh, MVP! God, you're naming all the good ones, Brandon. Knock it off. I didn't even think about these guys.
Some guys who are from the past that might come back, and
Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, goddamn, bring him back. He'd be boss in this era, especially with some of the work that he's been doing in
him and Rollins.
Oh God, shut up. But yeah, guys, definitely go in the comments down below and tell us what you thought about our draft, and then we'll definitely review it and compare it on the next episode when we review the actual draft and lead into to Battleground, because that's actually the next episode is going to be before Battleground. So the next episode after that will probably be, if we do 2 a month, will probably be into August as we review Battleground and then head towards SummerSlam.
Oh, I'm so excited, man.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week of Journey Into Wrestling, I'm Nate.
I'm Brando.
Thanks for listening.